I'm pleased to say I'm joined by the ITV pundit and commentator Chris Mason. Thanks for the time again, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm very well, pal. How are you?
Doing good, and this, as I mentioned off air a moment ago, lots to get to since we last had you on the show. But first,
it's been a while.
But let's quickly touch on this week, because the UK Open returns on Friday. You're going to be in Minehead as part of the ITV team. So how much do you look forward to this event in particular each year? As it is so different from everything else we see on TV.
Yeah, it is my favourite ITV event that we do. Obviously, I loved the Slam before it went to Sky, but of the ones we do have, this is my favourite event and one of my favourite events. Full stop. I just love seeing new players. I love seeing the guys that come through the qualifiers, and then obviously this year we've got something a little bit special in Luke Littler, who's opening the show on the main stage in match number 1 against Nick Fulwell. I do believe he's the youngest competitor we've ever had, because he's only just 16, isn't he?
Yeah, one of the qualifiers on his 16th birthday. We'll come back to the UK Open, but as I mentioned, we last had you on the show September last year. It was a few weeks before you made your return under the lights, playing in the Modus Super Series. So what was it like waking up on that Monday morning, going to play your first games in front of an audience watching at home for a long time?
Yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking. Not quite as nerve-wracking as playing at the Tavern a few weeks ago, but I got that all wrong totally, and I wasn't well. But yeah, it was. It took me a while just to get going and find my feet. But yeah, during the course of the week, played some really, really good stuff. Had a 100-odd average, which was nice, and a 10-darter and a couple of good finishes. And then to go on and win the week was more than I expected. And then the following week I played in Champions Week and made finals night. So the preparation went really well for it. I took a few weeks off, and I got a couple of local lads I practiced with, and yeah, they put me through the ringer for a good few weeks. So I was pretty much match ready, and then on the opening day, I was just a little bit too edgy. But by day 2, I sort of started to find my feet, and then played some good stuff. So yeah, it was really pleasing.
Well, you mentioned the 10-darter there. You're playing it down a little bit. It was a 10-dart leg on the ball. You've got to be confident to go for a shot like that.
Yeah, by that point I was feeling well, and it was against Wes, and I played him earlier in the week. I think it was the day before, and it was 3-0, and I hit 174 to leave 24, and he wanted 78, and I thought I've got him. And he hit the 54, hit double 9, and then hit double 3, and we had a bit of banter about it in the back room, and I said, that's all right, payback tomorrow. So when I had the opportunity to do him on the ball, I just had to go for it.
Very nice. Well, yeah, that first week playing in the Modus League, it was quite the week for you, playing the 5 days, getting through to the Saturday final, and we've got to mention that Saturday final as well, because there were some big finishes, last leg deciders, and in and amongst it, the 9-dart shootout as well. How do you prepare for something like that?
You don't. You just sort of roll with it. I made it hard work all the way through, but in fairness, everybody seemed to play some of their best stuff against me, and I just sort of stuck in there. Got a bit of luck here and there, as you need, no matter what level you're at. You need a bit of luck, and luck was on my side for a change. And yeah, the finals night was amazing. It was packed out down there. The atmosphere was brilliant. We had a great lineup of players, and yeah, playing Tony Oche, a real good friend of mine. We sort of spent pretty much every session all week together, and just reminiscing. And it was a fabulous week. It was an absolute honour to play in. Actually, I really, really enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, it's insanely tough, because you've almost got to sort of switch your body clock around. I was getting to the venue for about 7:30 a.m. and then you've got to resist that thing of going back to wherever you're staying and not sleeping. So I was sort of going back to the house, doing a bit of paperwork, cook myself some food, go for a walk, and then going to bed at about 9 and waking up at 6. And that's how I managed to deal with that.
Well, yeah, you won that Saturday night. That got you through to Champions Week, where you made it through to the finals again before losing out. But it was around that time came the news as well that you'd been invited to play at the Tavern for the World Seniors Championship. So what did getting that call mean to you as well?
Yeah, it was. Well, I'd sort of been the carrot had been dangled, and in my wisdom and being stubborn, I said, no, I'm going to try and play the tour events and earn my right to play, because I'm not, even though I accepted the invite, I'm not a huge fan of them, but with a new brand, you know, there's no real choice. But yeah, I was over the moon for the invite and accepted straight away. As far as playing in the tours, I won one of the Friday nights and had a quarter final. But my workload is just so manic at the moment. There's so much darts and doing other bits as well within darts. So I couldn't attend the events I wanted to, which is a bit disappointing, because it is a fabulous tour, and you know, I think it's important that all the players, even the ones that are already invited, support it and get behind it, because that's the only way it's really going to work. They need a solid ranking system, and then nobody can complain about whoever gets invited or doesn't get invited. You got to earn your spot. But I think that's probably maybe a year or two away. But on to the seniors, it was absolutely amazing to go back there. But yeah, I didn't do the right kind of practice going into it. Maybe a bit of overconfidence, and I just never settled. And then when I did settle, there was a commercial break which sort of came at the wrong time, and then I had to sort of go again. And in all credit, I thought Terry Jenkins was absolutely fabulous. He played brilliant against me. I think I was nearly 90. I think he had 6 180s. And it on reflection, desperately disappointed to lose, but a thoroughly enjoyable game, if that's actually a thing.
I was at the Circus Tavern myself as a fan for those first 2 days, and a big draw for me was seeing a lot of players play live who I'd not seen before. And as the weekend went on, the crowds definitely got bigger as well. How would you assess where that World Seniors product is in the world of darts right now?
I stayed and supported the event. I booked my hotel already for the entirety, and then I was doing some stuff upstairs with John Lowe in VIP and Q&As and stuff like that. So I got a real feel for it, and spent a lot of time sort of mingling in the crowd and just sort of getting feedback, really. And people absolutely love it. Yeah, okay. It's not the Premier League PDC level, but neither's Division 3 football. But people still go and enjoy that. The difference is with this, where most footballers just retire and play golf, there's still plenty of older players that can still play well enough to entertain us, especially when you look at someone like Robert Thornton, who was brilliant. But I think it's going to just going to grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. I hope it doesn't outgrow the tavern, because it's just a very unique place. You know, it's where it all started, really, for the PDC, in terms of the World Championships. And it's just one of those venues, very much like Lakeside on the sort of the other side of the coin. You've just got to go there if you're a darts fan, and just take it all in and remember all the great stuff that happened there. But yeah, the two guys behind it, Jason and Jason, they're massively committed to the product and the brand and the ethos behind it, and it's so well supported. As you know, if you were there, you'd have seen how many people were in there. I mean, on the Saturday and the Friday night, you couldn't move in there. It was brilliant, and it was, and in a weird kind of way, it was an absolute pleasure, but absolutely horrible to play up there. But hopefully the next time I get it right, because it was just a disappointing performance for myself. You know, I don't claim that I'm a player anymore. I'm a commentator that throws a few darts, but I'm certainly a lot better than how I performed. But yeah, in terms of the event, very much one of those sort of watch this space and watch it grow. There's a lot more broadcasters and not the normal ones we would associate with darts interested in it. So yeah, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And when you go to the tour events, there's players sort of, I remember back in the day that were sort of fringe players of similar age to me, but didn't quite make it. But now they've got another opportunity to follow their dream, and that's never been there for a player before. I mean, if I was offered a fortune to try and go back on tour, I couldn't physically do it. I couldn't mentally cope with the the demands and the commitment and the travel and the pressure, where although this has still got a lot of credibility and there's a lot of pride there, you haven't got to make the same kind of commitment. So it's a nice balance, and like I said, there's players there that would more than do themselves proud gracing any of the stages in the senior event. So I just think it's going to get bigger and bigger. And of course, we've got some great players that not necessarily now coming to the end of their career, but you think of all the players over 50 that at some point over the next few years they might say, do you know what, I've had enough. Well, look at the opportunities that they now have with the Super Series and with the Seniors Tour. It's a great option to have. You know, your Simon Whitlocks, Gary Andersons, etc. There's loads of them. So yeah, that's another reason why I think it's just going to grow.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to seeing how it progresses, and we'll get back to some other darts in a second, but you mentioned there about potentially getting another go yourself. So we've spoke a lot about your playing side of it. So what is the plan for the rest of 2023 now, playing wise? We know you, as you say, you're a busy man off the oche, but have you got anything lined up for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I'm trying to balance everything. I'm actually doing my first Euro Tour event for Premier Sports and the PDC. I'm doing the Dutch Darts event in Amsterdam alongside doing the Super Series. But I've actually sort of tried to juggle my diary around just to give myself a bit of free time. I'm playing in the Masters event in June in Yeovil, which is, for me, living in Devon, a nice local one, where I'll get plenty of people down to support. I'm playing in there's 2 tour events prior to that. I'm playing in those. I'm not able to do the qualifier for the one in Blackpool, the golden ticket one, because I am at Modus, and then I'm almost pretty much into the match play where I'll be working for TalkSport as always. But yeah, and I got an infection in my hand, so I literally have not picked up a dart since I played on that Thursday. I actually went out for a throw for about an hour and a half last night, and yeah, so the preparation has already begun. I just got to play more competitive darts. Practice just isn't enough going into an event like that. You've got to try and replicate the pressure as close as possible, and the only way I'm going to do that is by playing in a competitive environment, which is why I'm going to attend the 2 Seniors Tour events, one in Reading and one in Newbury. So yeah, a busy year on the oche and off the oche.
Well, let's get on to the PDC. A couple of questions, and a big discussion point recently has been the Premier League. And I remember hearing your lineup on the ITV broadcast during the Masters. You had the major winners, Danny Noppert and Ross Smith, in there, but they both missed out. Do you think the Premier League is a tournament that needs another revamp to perhaps include more players, because we've got this pool of world-class players? It just seems to be growing each year now.
Yeah, I mean, my solution to the problem, and I think it would make better television, I think it would make it better. It seems very driven to the live audience rather than the viewer at home at the moment. I've been as a fan and thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the process of eventually getting a winner, but 8 players isn't enough. I don't think the night is long enough, and I don't think it represents value for money. My personal opinion. Of course, the PDC do great research, and they have people filling out online forums about their experience. But I'd have the top 4 in the world, and they would be seeded for night 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I'd have 8. The 8 would play each other. The 4 winners would play the 4 seeds. As you have now with the quarter-final, but of course you've got the additional 4 players. And then week 2, the seeds would be based on the results from week 1. And I'd probably do that for 10 weeks, maybe 12 weeks, whichever way mathematically works the best. And then the bottom 4 in a table would be eliminated. You could still have your table, of course, and you'd still have your winner. And then the bottom 4 would drop out, and then you go back to as it is now for the final couple of weeks, building up to Judgment Night. I think that solves all the issues. It's only 4 extra games. It's not like they're long course starts. You've got the elite players, so it's not like it's gonna take forever to do. And I think it's better value for the punter, and I think the viewer at home would be more engaged. But listen, like I say, I think it's great for the live gate. I think it becomes a little bit monotonous for the punter at home.
Yeah, I'm with you there on that. And we should mention the women's game as well. We had a record number of entries for the women's series at the weekend. Bo Greaves, 3 out of the 4 titles at the weekend. She continues to dominate. And I said on Twitter at the weekend, the PDC, they've got an exciting product on their hands here, as it's the place where the top ladies are going to face each other more often these days. So where do you think it goes from here?
Yeah, I mean, Bo's just a phenomenon. I've been following her progress since she was probably 12 or 13 and seeing all the results in the then when it was in magazines and everything else. And yeah, she's pretty much dominating the game like Taylor did in the women's game. And that will only bring the other girls with her. They have to get better or they get beat. But she is a phenomenal talent. Popped in a 107 average at the weekend. Yeah, very, very, very special. And every sport needs that standout player, or competitor. And she's that for the ladies' game right now. And all power to her. I think she's an exciting talent. She's not even the end product. I mean, where does it end with her? How good can she actually get beyond where she is now? Because she will improve as she gets more experienced and a little bit older. So it's very similar to the sort of Luke Littler, I suppose, in what he's done in the sort of JDC side of the game. She's phenomenal. I think she's lost just once in 70 odd matches, isn't it, or something?
Yes, pretty crazy record, 70 wins in a row that she had as well.
Me personally, I hope she doesn't go for a tour card. And not yet. If I was the powers that be at the PDC, I'd almost say, look, can you even if it meant paying her a retainer, because it's very exciting for the ladies' game to have someone like Bo, and then to lose her into the minefield, which is a pro tour. I'm not sure how she would benefit, and it's a real tough school, and I just would like to see her wait a few years yet and literally mop up everything there is in the women's game, because ultimately, as we've already seen, the numbers from last year's women's match play were brilliant. The ticket sales are amazing, and the ticket sales already for the Sunday this year for the women's world match play, they're pretty much all gone.
Excellent. And looking at the provisional lineup for that, we could have Mikuru Suzuki against Fallon Sherrick in one of the quarterfinals as well, which is exciting. Yeah,
I mean, there's a quite a deep pool of players now, isn't there? Looking at that top 8 as it currently stands. Exciting times for women's darts, and they're eventually, after God knows how many decades, sort of getting rewarded, and they're showing that with their support, which is another great thing. As you said, it was record numbers, which is important, because if the girls sort of don't fancy it and the numbers start to dwindle, and they show a lack of commitment in a hole, trust me, the PDC will drop it instantly. It's got to make financial sense. Afterwards, it is a business. But I was chuffed to bits to see the numbers in attendance. I think that's a great sign going forward. I think it will encourage, as sort of Fallon has played her part, encouraging much younger players, and that's seen in the JDC and in the academies up down the country. Her impact was massive in getting young girls to play darts, which is great, and hopefully we won't have to wait this long for another Bo or another Fallon, and they start like they have in the men's game. They start queuing up. That's what the girls. That's what they need.
Let's hope so. Well, 2 more before we let you go. And away from the PDC, we had Nick Rolls from the WDF on our show last week talking about the changes to their World Championship, the 3-year deal at Lakeside, moving it to early December. What did you make of all the changes?
Have they got a TV deal?
That's not been confirmed, but we're assuming it's going to be on Eurosport again.
Well, Eurosport's gone now, isn't it? So Yeah, it's now it is a new channel, isn't it? It's been bought. I know they didn't have or as far as I know, there was no TV deal. I mean, the priority for them is sponsorship, a TV deal, and rewarding the players with the prize money they deserve. And this, what they're doing with the whole ranking system, it's mistake after mistake after mistake, and they just don't learn. They don't learn because they don't know what they're doing, and that listen, I like Nick. He's a mate of mine. I've known him 20 odd years. But I just think he's massively out of his depth, and it shows there's unrest by the players, and they're the ones you've got to keep sweet. They're the ones that support the system. They're the ones that pay their entry money and cough up extraordinary amounts to go around Europe to pick up ranking points to chase their dream of playing in the World Championships. And it's just continued to lose credibility. And then that drive to, when all I thought about when I started playing was qualifying for Lakeside and playing for my country. That was my two priorities: playing for England and qualifying and getting in the Worlds. How many young players now look at it as an option? They don't. You ask any of the youngsters coming through where do they want to play, and they'll tell you Ali Pali. So they have to either create. I mean, look at the strides that ADC have made in a real short space of time, and the Super Series. Again, it's finding something unique. It's I don't expect him to try and reinvent the wheel, but you can't have people travelling now with how badly it's been run and how badly they messed up the whole last World Championships. You're telling me people are travelling this year to qualify for next December? It's madness. It's just if it wasn't real, you'd think it was a joke, and I don't get it. They should have bit the bullet, showed some balls, and said, right, sorry, this happened, we're starting afresh. But every time they say, oh no, we're gonna do all it goes back. It's very much like county, another absolute tragedy for the sport. They just ain't got a clue. They ain't got a clue. Too many old people with too many old people ideas. And as I've told you before, the reason the PDC worked, they got young, innovative, creative professionals in to do certain jobs. And if they didn't do them, they got fired, and they got someone else in, and they get someone else in. It's not an accident that the PDC has thrived, and there's now, £17 million in prize money up for grabs every year, because they get industry experts in to make things happen. And unfortunately, when you've got the BDO or now the WDF, which although admirably has been pretty much propped up by volunteers since the early 70s. Maureen, who's been doing it for God knows how many years and sells raffles. I'm sorry. I mean, although it's admirable and it's great in one way, that's why they're stuck, and they're basically no different. In fact, they're probably worse off than when Sue and Wayne were running it. And it's just sad. It's just sad to see. And I just got it for the players. That's my only concern. The ones spending every last penny they've got to chase a dream. Which, is it going to be there? Who knows?
Well, we'll finish up back to the PDC, back to the UK Open, and it's you mentioned about the prize money. It's a bigger prize fund this year. We've got all 8 boards streamed, are going to be available to watch, which is exciting news for the tournament. But before we let you go, we want 2 names, one from the top 32, one from outside the top 32, who you're tipping for a big weekend in Pinehead.
Oh, Jim Williams, I've been really impressed with. I think he's been playing very, very well, going under the radar pretty much, and regularly hitting big average. So he's just outside the 32, isn't he, Jim? I'm going to have to give you a couple of names because you can't narrow me down to that.
No worries.
I think Josh Rock had a little bit of a wobble, and with everything that's going on behind the scenes, but he seems to be finding a little bit of form. we know how much he loves the big stage, so he's one on my short list as well. Who else was I looking at? Don't be surprised to see Beaton have a little bit of a run. He's another player that's in fine form. He's evergreen, as we say. Ooh, I'm not feeling the MVG form at the moment. But as one of the elite group, I'm going for Gezi Price. Sorry, Gezi.
Excellent. We look forward to seeing how those picks get on. Chris, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Keep up the great work that you're doing, and we wish you all the best for what else is to come in 2023 as well.
Thanks a million, guys, and as always, absolutely love the cast and love tuning in. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.